Hey everyone, you are not going to believe this. We got to talk about Mandy more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive into what's going on in her world right now.
Okay.
We're going to start with some pretty intense stuff that's been happening in her life lately, but then I kind of zoom out and look at her career journey as a whole.
Okay.
It's pretty wild how much she's packed into it.
I bet.
So we've got her Wikipedia page open,
Right.
plus some recent news articles that paint a pretty intense picture of what she and her whole community are going through right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes when we hear about events like this, it's easy to feel disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
But, with these articles and then also reading Moore's own words on her Instagram,
Right.
it really hits home.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the reason for this deep dive is the Eaton fire
Right.
that ripped through Southern California.
Oh, wow.
Mandy Moore and her family had to evacuate their home, and she was posting these raw, emotional updates on Instagram.
Wow, and what's so striking is how she doesn't shy away from those feelings at all.
Right.
She straight up says she's devastated and gutted,
Yeah.
and that she's trying to protect her kids from, that heavy stuff.
Oh, wow.
That immense sadness and worry.
And at that point, she didn't even know if her home was still standing.
Oh, God.
The whole situation was just so uncertain and terrifying.
Yeah, it's important to remember that this wasn't just some isolated incident.
Mm-hmm.
The Eaton fire has tragically claimed the lives of 5 people.
Wow.
This is a huge loss for the whole community, not just for, those in the public eye.
Yeah. And then she confirmed on Instagram that her home was actually destroyed.
Oh, no.
She said that Altadena, where she lived, was leveled and called her home sweet.
Oh.
It's just heartbreaking to read those words.
It is. What really gets me is how she talks about the losses beyond just her own house.
Right.
She mentions her children's school being destroyed,
Oh, wow.
their favorite restaurants.
Yeah.
It's this whole network of places and memories that are gone.
Yeah,
And for so many in her community, it's the same story. They've lost everything.
absolutely. And in the midst of all that pain, she still talks about rebuilding together.
It's amazing.
It just speaks volumes about her character. But before we dive deeper into, her strength, how she handles this, I think it's helpful to rewind a bit
Okay.
and look at the bigger picture of her career.
Right.
It kind of puts everything into perspective.
It's true. Understanding the scope of what she's accomplished makes this recent event even more poignant.
Right.
So let's go back to the beginning, to her Wikipedia entry, and trace her journey.
Okay, so how do we even sum up Mandy Moore? I mean, she started as a teen pop star back in 1999 with that catchy song Candy,
Oh, yeah.
which, by the way, I totally blasted on repeat back in the day.
Oh, I can imagine.
I know.
Imagine going from screaming fans at a concert to the intense quiet of a film set.
Right.
That's exactly the leap Mandy Moore made.
Yeah.
She transitioned from those teen pop roots to
Right.
acting landing roles.
Right.
In movies that became cultural touchstones, like A Walk to... Remember?
Oh, yeah. And who could forget her voicing Rapunzel in Tangled?
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's a whole generation who grew up with her voice.
That's true.
Not to mention, her recent work on This Is Us has earned her all kinds of awards buzz.
Yeah.
It seems like she's constantly evolving as an artist.
There's this sense of fearlessness about her career choices.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you know she's actually 5'10"?
No way.
Yeah. That height played a role in her launching a fashion line, which is interesting in itself.
Wow.
And get this, she trekked to Everest Base Camp.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah.
That's intense.
It definitely paints a picture of someone who's up for a challenge, both personally and professionally.
Absolutely.
And when you consider that adventurous spirit, the loss from this fire becomes even more profound.
Right.
It's not just about losing a physical structure. It's about losing a place that held memories and milestones from this incredible, multifaceted life she's built.
Yeah, totally. It's not like this is only affecting Mandy Moore either.
Right.
It's impacted the whole celebrity community in Pacific Palisades.
Oh, absolutely. It's a stark reminder that these events don't discriminate.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis and Mark Hamill had to evacuate too.
Wow.
And Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag from The Hills actually lost their home as well.
Oh, wow.
It really puts things in perspective.
Totally. But going back to Mandy Moore, what's so inspiring is that even in the face of this devastating loss, she's radiating resilience.
When you dig into her Wikipedia page and you see her history of activism and giving back,
Mm-hmm.
it almost feels like this fire ignited something she's always been passionate about.
Right.
It's brought that side of her to the forefront.
It's like this deep well of empathy she's always had. overflowing now, even though she's the one who just experienced this terrible loss.
Exactly. And it's not just a recent thing either.
Right.
Over the years, she's been involved with all kinds of causes.
Yeah.
She's a big advocate for children's health, working with organizations like Population Services International. Plus, she's been super vocal about raising awareness for leukemia, lymphoma, and cervical cancer.
And don't forget her political activism.
Oh,
She was a huge supporter of Hillary Clinton and participated in the Women's March.
Yeah.
It's clear that using her platform to make a difference is super important to her.
It's almost like there's this golden thread of community and helping others that's woven throughout her entire career, From her music to her acting to her personal life, it's always been there.
Yeah, and this fire seems to have just amplified that.
Absolutely.
When she talks about rebuilding together, it's not just a nice sentiment. It feels like a core value for her. Like it's in her DNA.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It speaks to a deep sense of empathy and a genuine desire to take action, even when she's the one who needs support.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable.
You know what I find interesting? You mentioned her political activism.
Right.
And it makes me wonder if this experience with the fire might make her even more likely to get involved in social causes.
Oh, interesting.
Particularly ones related to climate change and disaster relief.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely possible she's already spoken out about the importance of environmental protection in the past.
Right?
So experiencing this kind of devastation firsthand could definitely fuel her passion to make a difference in that area.
And think about the power of her platform.
Right.
If she uses her voice to advocate for change, she could potentially reach millions of people and inspire them to get involved too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She has this unique ability to connect with people on an emotional level, both through her art and her personal story.
Yeah.
That kind of authenticity can be incredibly powerful when it comes to driving social change.
So let's recap for a sec.
Yeah.
We've talked about the devastating fire. We've gone through Mora's impressive career from pop princess to acclaimed actress. And we've highlighted her incredible resilience and spirit of giving back. It's a lot to process.
It really is. It's amazing to see how all these seemingly different parts of her story, from singing Candy to trekking to Everest Base Camp to now facing this enormous challenge, somehow all fit together.
Right.
Mandy Moore seems to embody this rare blend of talent, heart, and action.
I totally agree. She's a true inspiration, showing us that we can chase our dreams and lift others up at the same time. Makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what's next for Mandy Moore after all this?
Like she's at a crossroads, you know?
Yeah.
This experience could send her in so many different directions.
Right.
Maybe it'll fuel her creativity and lead to some incredible new music or acting roles that explore, themes of loss, resilience, and rebuilding.
Right. It could be the catalyst for some really powerful art.
Yeah.
Or maybe it'll push her even further into her advocacy work.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to climate change and disaster relief.
Oh, yeah. I could totally see that happening.
Right.
She could become a leading voice in those movements, using her personal experience to raise awareness and inspire action.
And think about how her fans might rally around her. Oh, totally.
They've been with her through every stage of her career, from Candy to This Is Us.
Right.
They adore her, and I bet they'd be right there with her, supporting whatever cause she chooses to champion.
It's true. She has this incredibly dedicated fan base that's grown up alongside her. They've seen her navigate the ups and downs of fame. They've celebrated her successes. And now they're witnessing her strength in the face of this tragedy.
Yeah.
They're invested in her story.
It makes me think about that quote from her Instagram, the one where she talks about rebuilding together.
Right.
That seems to be the theme that runs through everything she does.
That sense of community is so central to who she is. Even in her darkest hour, she's thinking about others, about how to come together and rebuild stronger than before.
Right.
It's really powerful.
And it's not just celebrities who face these kinds of challenges.
Sure.
We all go through tough times, unexpected setbacks that can feel overwhelming. But what Mandy Moore is showing us is that we have a choice in how we respond.
We can let those experiences break us, or we can use them as fuel to rebuild.
Exactly. It's about finding that inner strength, that resilience that allows us to rise above the ashes.
Right.
And it's about leaning on our community, supporting each other through the tough times. That's what Mandy Moore is all about. And it's a lesson we can all learn from.
I have a feeling Mandy Moore's next chapter is going to be pretty amazing, whatever she chooses to do. I have no doubt she'll approach it with the same grace, determination, and heart that she's always shown.
I totally agree. And honestly, I can't wait to see what she does next. She's a force to be reckoned with.
So what does this all mean for you listening in? What do you think Mandy Moore's next chapter will hold? Will she channel this experience into her art, her activism, or maybe something completely unexpected?
It's a question worth pondering. Life is full of twists and turns, and sometimes those unexpected detours lead to the most remarkable transformations.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the image that sticks with me is Mandy Moore and her community rebuilding together. They're not letting this tragedy define them. They're choosing hope, resilience, and the power of human connection.
It's a beautiful reminder that even in the face of immense loss, there's always the possibility of renewal.
And that's a message we can all carry with us. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Mandy Moore.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.